Hi everybody, I'm Pia from Stitches and Scraps. Today I'm going to show you how to crochet spike stitches. A spike stitch is a type of stitch that's worked below where you normally would work your stitch and pulled up to the height of the current row. Let's take a look at how to work a spike double crochet first. Here I've got just a small swatch of plain crochet fabric, and I've joined a new color so that you can really see the spike stitch as well. So I've done one double crochet. Now suppose for the next stitch I want to do a spike stitch, and instead of doing a double crochet here into this row, I want to go into this row, or maybe I want to go into this row. I'm going to go all the way down into this row here. So I start like I would for a normal double crochet. I do a yarn over, I figure out which row I want to go into, I stick my hook into the top of that stitch just like I normally would, right? You can see that this stitch is coming out of there. It's coming right out of the top of the stitch there, right? So this is where I already worked in this stitch, and that's where I want to put my hook. I'm going to grab the yarn and pull up a loop. Now here's where the spike part comes in. Normally you would pull up the loop like this, but for a spike stitch, I'm going to pull this loop up nice and big and, jiggle your yarn till you get nice even tension. But I want it all the way up to the height of the row that I'm currently working on. Do you see that? Now I can finish my double crochet like normal. So this loop here is at the same height that it would be if I had just done a normal crochet, double crochet. So like here, I'm just doing a normal double crochet and you can see the height of that loop. Pay attention to how high that loop is, right? For my spike stitch, I'm doing the same thing, but way down here, for example, and I am picking up this loop all the way to that same height. So right about there, as it would have been if I was just doing a regular stitch. Now I'm going to finish a double crochet like normal. And so that is the spike double crochet, and you can see it covers up that stitch and a couple stitches below. And I can do that also in a chain space. Suppose instead of this stitch, I wanted to work down here into this chain space. Same thing. Yarn over, insert my hook where I want it to go, pull this loop up, this is the key, pull this loop up to the same height that it would be if I was working into the normal spot. Yarn over, pull through two, yarn over, pull through two, just like I would for a normal double crochet. So that's a spike double crochet. You can do a spike anything because the spike part of spike double crochet refers to pulling up this loop nice and big. The rest of it, the double crochet part, tells you what stitch you're doing. So you could do a spike single crochet. Let's do that. And you can go lower. Let's go down here even. Okay? And let's do a single crochet doesn't have a yarn over, so I'm just going to insert my hook. I'm going to pull this loop up nice and tall to where my row is, okay, where I currently am, right up here. And then I just finish like a normal single crochet. And that's a spike single crochet. I could do a half double. I could even do a spike cluster. Suppose I wanted to put a spike cluster right here, right? A cluster, say, of 3 double crochets. So a double crochet cluster, you yarn over, pull through 2. Now you've got 2 loops on your hook. Do that again. So I'm pulling this loop up nice and tall, yarn over, pull through 2. Okay? Go down here, pull this loop up nice and tall, yarn over, pull through 2, and then yarn over and close the stitch. So that's a spike cluster. So anything you can do into a normal stitch, you can do as a spike stitch. It's just done lower, and what the spike part is telling you is to pull that loop. Every time you pull up a loop from that stitch that's below, you want to pull it up nice and tall to get to the level of your current stitches. Now, how do you know where to stick your hook? This is the part that gets really confusing for a lot of people, okay? This definition about row below or how many rows below. The reason the whole row below thing is so confusing is because there's 2 different ways to express the same thing, and you have to pay attention to the syntax to know which one you're looking at. So if you just see rows below without anything after it, so something like 2 rows below or 3 rows below, you can add the words where your hook currently is to the end of that. So if there's nothing at the end, add the words where your hook currently is. So that means that the row that you normally work into is 1 row below. This stitch is the next stitch 1 row below because it's 1 row below where your hook currently is. So nobody's ever going to tell you work in the next stitch 1 row below. They're just going to say work in the next stitch. What you will hear is something like spike double crochet in the next stitch 3 rows below. Well, you might think that you go 1, 2, 3, and then down here, but that's not it because this is 1. This is the second row below. This is 3 rows below. So you go to the top of this stitch here. So I would go here, 1, 2, 3 rows below. And I would make my spike double crochet here. So that is a spike double crochet in the next stitch 3 rows below. Now, you could also write spike double crochet 2 rows below the next stitch. Now, why is it 2 rows below instead of 3 rows below? Well, because I said below the next stitch. So instead of saying the next stitch 3 rows below, which means 3 rows below where your hook is, I'm saying 2 rows below the next stitch. So it's not below where my hook is, right? Now it's below where this next stitch is. So if this is the next stitch, 2 rows below that is 1, 2, and that puts me right in the same row as saying, I didn't do a double crochet, but that puts me right in the same row as though I had said 3 rows below where my hook is. So you want to pay careful attention to whether they're saying next stitch 3 rows below or whether they're saying 3 rows below the next stitch, because that's different. 3 rows below the next stitch here would actually put me down, because this is the next stitch, 1, 2, 3 rows below the next stitch puts me down here. Do you see that? That puts me 1 row lower because of the syntax. So that's where it gets very confusing. And you really just have to pay attention to the language to know which row you're supposed to be working into. Now the last note is you'll notice that as we work these spike stitches, it's on both sides because we've encapsulated the stitch around it. So I've come down here and I'm not like pulling up a loop and then working in front. I'm working all the way through the fabric and wrapping this yarn all the way around it, yes? So the instructions normally will say to skip the stitch that you just crocheted over. If it doesn't say that, you're going to want to skip that stitch, because then if it says, double crochet in the next stitch on the current row, you're going to want to go like that. Okay? So if it doesn't specify, you can usually assume that you're skipping the stitch that's inside your spike stitch. And that's how you crochet spike stitches. If you enjoyed this video, please give me a thumbs up, share it with your friends, or leave me a comment. You can also subscribe to my YouTube channel for more great videos. Thanks for watching.